Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm so delighted that you are here and excited to provide this space to talk about all the regulations that are going on in China, what is sort of playing out with some of these companies already, what this means for online teachers, and what we as online teachers can do to prepare the future and to look at this as an opportunity to grow and to look outside of maybe where we're currently working or what is going on with the companies that we are hired with. We have a big group here today. So excited to have so many people watching. Do make sure that if you see a live chat on the right-hand side, you can leave a comment, say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. And throughout this whole thing, this is just a space for conversation, as well as if you have information or news and you wanted to share that, you're welcome to do that in the chat. A lot of things that are being posted on Facebook and on social media, tend to sometimes be rumors, right? In that rumorville space. And so a lot of companies have not made decisions specifically about what this is going to mean for their company based on the policy that has come out. But I'm excited to talk to Minji in a couple of minutes all about that and to bring in some of her expertise and background knowledge about the online education industry in China. So I just want to say hello to a few folks that were here very early. Very first comment was from Jeff. Thank you so much for being here. I was trying to post comments as I was going through the countdown timer here, but we've got a few people hanging out. And yeah, this is definitely a popular topic. Lots of friends here watching. So do please say hello. I'm going to start, and I'll probably miss your comment if I do. I apologize. If you do have a specific question, please put question and then the comment so that I know what you're asking and that it's a question for Minji or I. If you're talking amongst yourselves, no worries at all. This is a space for you to vent, to complain, to share what's going on with your specific company. A lot of us work for a variety of different online companies in China and also outside of China. So I just want to say hello to Ben. Thank you for being here, Ben. Always a regular on the show. And Candy from North Carolina. That's awesome. Michelle from Florida. Hello, Lydia, tuning in from Canary Islands. It truly is a global community. Aaron here. I'm freaked, right in the middle of a career change and relying on these ESL companies. Don't freak out. Really, one of the goals of this live is to alleviate some of those fears, alleviate some of the stress, and to give you some hope as well for opportunities and possibilities for you to jump into. Claire from the Netherlands. Hey, Claire. And Tracy is here as well. April, thank you so much. Jenna Lee. Hey, Jenna Lee. Gemsification, thank you for being here. Aaron is in the middle of interviewing with Magic Ears. Thank you for any help and advice. Mar, hey, Mar. Jillian, hey, Jillian. Good to have you. We've got James from Poland. Gail from I've just lost some comments here. Gail from the UK. Oklahoma. Yeah, so awesome. So I won't spend too much time saying hello to everybody, but welcome. And thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to be able to jump into today's topic. And again, if you have any questions, please do put question and the question that you have for Minji or I. All right, so I'm going to introduce our guest to us. Minji was born and grew up in Shanghai, China, and now lives in London, UK. She worked with Boston Consulting Group, a strategy consulting firm in Hong Kong, before pursuing an MBA degree with Cambridge University. Upon graduating in 2013, she went into online education. She began by working with platforms and gradually moved towards independence. And she now runs 2 independent businesses in the area of language learning and cultural experience. Welcome, Minji, to the show.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for having me with your time. And as an entrepreneur in the area of online learning and virtual tourism, I'm very happy to share my experience, especially during the current climate.
Yeah, so delighted to have you here. Was there anything outside of that intro that you could share with the folks about where you are? Where are you tuning in from today?
Yeah, I live in London. This is our flat in London, the UK.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So downtown London?
Downtown London. But before that, I grew up in Shanghai. I lived in Scandinavia and then
Okay.
in Hong Kong. And I was also in the US as a camp counselor when I was a university student, Long Island, USA.
Oh, that's so funny. I actually went to boarding school in Stony Brook, Long Island.
I
Was
was
it?
close to, I forgot where I am. It was long time ago, 2001.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Long Island. It was a boarding school, and I was there for when I was 12 years old and 13 years old, which is very young to be in boarding school. But I learned a lot and grew up really fast. But it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to lead in with a video, Minji, and then I'm going to jump into our discussion. So this video is a couple minutes long, and it's a video clip from CNBC, and it will be a good lead into our discussion. So here we go.
Tell me what China is trying to do with its regulations, specifically of these after-school tutoring or training companies. What is their motive here?
It's twofold, Tyler. One, you have demographic issues that were revealed in the latest census in China. It showed that China is growing old, but more troublesome is a very low birth rate. So policies being directed to try to create more incentive to have kids. And it's been reported that upwards of 25% of urban family income has been dedicated to tutoring. To after-school tutoring programs. So this, by removing the for-profit companies from the equation, that role will be taken on by public schools going forward. The other factor is a lot of capital has gone into after-school tutoring companies, both public and private. Policy would rather see that money go into the new technologies, if it's AI, big data, high-end manufacturing, biotech, semiconductors. They'd rather see capital go into the industries that China will need in the decades to come, rather for after-school tutoring, which arguably doesn't have much of an effect on the real economy.
So really, this is a case of the Chinese central state trying, as they always do, to pick winners and direct from Beijing the economy, and more than that, consumer spending.
Well, I would argue that it's more geared to providing relief to Chinese families, that this move, as painful as it's been for investors, both publicly as well as in the private space, it's largely been cheered by social media in China, that parents are saying thank you to the government for relieving them from having to pay very high percentages of their income to have to deal with after-school tutoring. So I don't think it's necessarily picking winners as opposed to listening to what the population wants. And this is clearly something that they wanted relief from, and they got it.
All right. I thought that was a great clip because it really kind of highlights some of the financial things that are happening. But let's just back up for those that are like, what's going on in China? Because there might be some people here that don't even know what this whole policy is about. And then we can jump into some insights from it. And just leading off by saying neither Minji or I are an expert on the Chinese government regulations regarding this, but Minji has a lot of insight into this and has written some very popular blog posts on her LinkedIn, which we'll also reference. And yeah, so what is this thing, Minji?
Yeah, I like your approach by stepping back and look at the big picture. I believe it's important for us to understand the three strategic pillars for Chinese government for the next decades or 50 years. 3 pillars.
I just want to interrupt you by saying that there's a lot of Minji fans in the chat. So Gemsifications, I'm a huge Minji fan, and I saw a couple of others. Thank you. So yeah, continue.
Okay. So the first is population. Second is green energy. And the third is technology, because China has a declining, aging population. So the government has been trying really hard to encourage birth rate.
Right.
So by the way Chinese market works is very different, maybe compared to UK or US market, where government kind of play a role, let the market's invisible hand play in the whole supply and demand situation. Chinese government, they see a state intervention And they really try to use more state influence and power to encourage the society to move towards, or the market to move towards, where they believe are the 3 strategic pillars. So that's very much the context of what's happening. So when it comes to education, actually, this started last year, January 2020. The government would like to see a more well-rounded education. So physical education was implemented last year in the summer in the high-stake exams. And then the government in April, in the summer last year, autumn last year, gradually issued policy saying, students shouldn't work too late in the evenings. You should guarantee them to have proper resting hour. These are all policies trying, I believe, with good intention to help release the stress for families, for the children. And then boom, in 20th July, it's important to point out, it's not the Ministry of Education who issued the new latest policy. It's the State Council, which almost is like the parliament in British concept. So that shows the priority and the strategic importance of the, I call it 720 policy, since it was issued by July 20th. One of the important thing is to cut the tie between private money and private tutoring. So what has happened in the past decade was so much money, billions of dollars went into the industry. So averagely for an K-12 online ESL company to acquire a new customer, to recruit a new student, the cost is about $600 to $700 per student.
Wow. For the company to acquire that student. That's incredible. Yeah.
So this is really government saying, well, we don't really see the huge value of having spent so much money cramming the student, making the student just prepare for exams. Let's try to stop all this nonsense. However, being in a big country, the policy in a way is cookie cutter. It doesn't differentiate exam factory versus education companies with a healthy approach, with a good mission. That's going to be a short-term pain during the long-term adjustment period.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, I think this whole burden that the government is or the policymakers are wanting to alleviate from these parents is something that, you know, I've been hearing about for a while, and we've seen ever since last year different things changing, not so much regarding these big policies that have just recently come out, but, you know, companies have reduced their pay and different things like that. And now we're seeing that even right now. And you brought up the point about cutting ties between private capital and tutoring. So that's one thing. And also we talked about, you know, reducing the burden on parents, because it is so costly for parents to raise a child. And so there's an aging population, and parents are reluctant to have more children because of the cost, right, on what it costs to raise them. What else do we glean from the policy that sort of applies to us?
Yeah, so there are a few other aspects the policy addresses. One is, indeed, if you think about business value proposition, it's all about time and money. If we want to increase birth rate, we should help parents. The government sees it that way, to save money and save time. In terms of time, the policies propose a more scientific use of after-class time.
Right.
Schools and parents should guide children to participate in houseworks, sports, reading, and art-related activities. They should communicate with the children, care for their mental health, and help them to foster a good learning habit. So these are the policy suggestions saying, instead of just prepare for exams, you better learn how to have a more efficient use of your time as a family. The policy also tries to enlarge the role of public resources. One of the biggest complaints for parents are children finish school before they finish work. So a lot of
Yes.
parents send their children to in-person or online tutoring classes, not exactly valuing its education value, but they use these classes as a tribe mining service.
Yes, I'm sure everybody in the chat that works for Chinese companies can attest to that. That oftentimes the parents aren't even there. The child, or they are, but they're doing other things. Sometimes they're involved, but for the most part, it can be definitely the child mining service. How many teachers in the chat have had students take classes, while they're in a cafe and the parents are socializing with their friends or different things like that? So I completely agree with that.
And that I hope is going to change long term, because if we look at the evolution of any industry, online ESL teaching, especially in China, is relatively young. A lot of parents, they are not there yet to understand what is good teaching, especially in a language they don't understand, how to evaluate success. So for them, it's learning English the same way, at the same price. It doesn't matter who's teaching. Their selection criteria is very much based on price. Oh, how much I'm paying per child, per class. That's how I value it. Correct. That's how I evaluate and select platforms. But as any industry, online ESL industry will mature in terms of customer sophistication and education, and in terms of product diversification. So hopefully in the long term, we will have many products to cater to different kinds of preferences with different curriculum and different price points. So if we are here today and we want to go there, it's going to take a long time, but this is definitely the direction to travel. So if today,
Absolutely,
parents are still seeing mainly the tribe mining value proposition of teachers' time, I really believe in 10 years, the picture will be very different, and we should all try to get on that bus to be prepared for that future.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. We've got over 200 people watching on Facebook and YouTube. Please do hit the like button if you are here. It really helps the video to get out to more people. And if you're not one of my subscribers, I would love to have you join. We do weekly shows every Monday on different topics related to online teaching, and would love to have you here. So the title of this was, if teachers want to go and look at the documents, they are online. The policy is called Policy 720. It's available through translation, through your Google Translation. You can look at some of those things. I'll be honest, it's really hard to understand exactly what it means, especially for us as online ESL teachers with companies like Magic Ears and Bling ABC and VIP Kid and all those kinds of things. And I put on the thumbnail of this, "Are we fired?" And I thought that was, a question that a lot of people are wondering about. So is this going to mean that we're fired as online ESL teachers? About 2 weeks ago, I would have said, stay calm. And I still say stay calm. But, I'm always one of these people that sort of likes to see things pan out before I'm going to start getting super concerned. I am diversified and I have lots of companies that I can work with. So I'm not too concerned if a company goes under. But there is great fear out there with a lot of teachers who are relying on online ESL companies for sometimes their sole income, sometimes a part-time income. And so it's devastating to think that, we could be losing our jobs. Now, from what I can see, no one has been fired because of this, and no companies have completely gone under yet. But there have definitely been some changes, such as Palfish has reduced pay. Specific companies have reduced workshops and even canceled all future workshops. I don't want to get into specifics about companies that have made some announcements about their recruiting process being halted, but I want to wait for those things to become official and to kind of get a little bit more official before I actually talk about them. But there are definitely changes. Would you agree that this is going to impact in some way? And maybe in what ways do you think?
Like you,
loaded question, I know. Sorry.
Yeah. Like you, I was pretty calm. I follow these policies quite closely, and I've always been blogged in. These are the policies, but as ESL teacher, don't worry, because if you're really helping a child to develop language, cultural awareness, for its healthy growth, it's in line with the government policy.
Minji, you've got something on your microphone. I just wanted to alert you to that it's chafing. I don't know if it's a piece of paper or something, just so you're aware.
Is it better now?
Yeah, just every couple of minutes there was a kind of like a DJ scratch on it or something.
I'm playing DJ.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
The one thing which concerns me from the 720 policy is an article which says companies shouldn't hire non-Chinese nationals outside China. That makes me concerned. But again, there are many ways to interpret the exact meaning of it, because it doesn't say hiring is full-time or is part-time freelancing hiring or not. It doesn't specifically say which kind of institutions. Is it preschool language institutions? Is it any online education institutions? Very interestingly, after reading this policy, I went to check the database for different company registry database for different platforms, such as VIP Kids, Google Kids, EF, English First, etc. Most of them are registered as IT service providers. Again, we don't know what does that mean, how to interpret this policy. In general, China is such a big country. Each province and state have its own schedule to implement and interpret administrative policies. At the moment, we still don't have any dedicated schedule when these policies are rolling out. And if the priority is to regulate foreign teacher outside China, I don't know what's the implementation date, what's the priority. At this moment, China saw another COVID-19 outbreak. A lot of people are asked to stay at home. How would you check people's tutoring classes if you need to monitor 1.5 billion people's household activity? That's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting some feedback now. I think a little bit from. Can someone let me know in the chat if the sound is okay? Okay, I think it's okay. I heard a little bit of feedback. So it's really based on how these companies are classified, right? Like you said, companies like VIP Kid are listed as IT companies. And I know is that correct? And I know that they have been kind of angling a lot of their curriculum more to holistic education and to teaching the whole child and things like that. And, with companies that are so big like that, I believe that they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they're protected and that they're abiding within the policy or the law. I suppose it's not law, but abiding within the policy. With over 1 million students and over 100,000 teachers, I don't think they're going to fold tomorrow. But I think that there could be some changes, as we've seen all along with, changes in requirements for getting hired, changes in the pay policy, changes in the certification that is needed. There may be changes to how long classes can be, when classes have to stop being taught, so weekends and holidays could be impacted. I know that was also something listed in the policy as well, right? So
absolutely. We are facing different scenarios, and we might have a scenario which is we have the worst outcome in short term and in long term. The best scenario is the platform we work with is relatively less impacted in short term and long term, or we can have a combination. Short term, the platform will pause a little bit, but in a few years, since the demand is there, the platform find other ways to adapt, because we need to remember you can regulate the supply, but if it's summer, I want to have ice cream, no policy is going to regulate my demand. That's
right. Very true.
I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, to get ice cream. Yeah, that's going to be a good lead into sort of what we're recommending for online teachers, and some, looking at this as an opportunity and not as destruction to the industry and to our own livelihoods as online ESL teachers. I just want to pop in the chat real quick, Minji, and just answer some questions or comments here. Rachel says Yuan Fudao is not operating normally. This is the company I work for, and things are changing overnight. Yeah, they're the ones that own Zebra English, if I am not mistaken. Yeah. I don't know how to say this properly. Zoyabang. Zoyabang is still touting a 3 yuan video package for new 6th graders on its homepage. Some live streaming courses offered by Yuan Fidao for the remainder of the summer break were booked solid. Yeah, it's funny because, you know, a lot of companies have been sending out recruiting bonuses for needing teachers. And so there's a lot of conflicting information. Put question in the chat, folks, if you have a question for Minji or I. This is a question: why the foreign teacher ban? Okay, we sort of talked about that, and how will that be implemented? I mean, I don't think, and if there is such a thing, I don't think that it's going to be something that's going to happen overnight. I still have classes booked tomorrow, and many teachers do for the weeks to come. So, you know, with anything, and again, it's not a law, it's a policy. It's going, and it's provincially regulated, right, based on the jurisdiction. So Shanghai is going to interpret it and implement it. Beijing is going to do the same thing. And so, you know, it's going to be something that we just wait and see, I suppose. Oh, VIP Kid Health, here we are. It's great time to rejoin the workforce. Okay, that's one perspective. I bought 2 Teslas this year. I might have a clue. Okay. Yeah, I mean, some people are wanting to go back to work. Kristen says, I'm currently without school and VIP Kid, but wanted to look outside of VIP Kids. So this is great info. Yeah, we've got some good info for you. And as well, those that are watching, I did a video about a month ago on non-Chinese ESL companies. And I'm actively recruiting for Cambly Kids, which is a great alternative if you just want to grab something now that's like fast and easy, a lower paid position, but it is worldwide. So that is an opportunity to look at if you're wanting to diversify and, you know, look at non-Chinese companies. Kristen, there is not a date specifically, but I did read that August the 1st, am I wrong by saying that, Minji, that August the 1st was a date that they were starting to roll things out? Did you see that in any policies, or am I wrong?
What I read is 23 provinces were selected as pilot to implement this 720 policy. Having that said, because the policy has 16 pages and there are many items, the main focus is really to regulate in-person exam factories, to regulate their activities.
Yeah.
In terms of online ESL, such as VIP Kit, because it goes to the whole country, I can't see any provincial taking the lead saying, oh, we want to regulate on behalf of the country.
Yeah.
I'm getting all these confusing messages as well. I see people sharing on their WeChat saying our classes carry on as usual. My kids go to this VIP class.
Yeah.
So maybe over time, the implementation will be more solid. But at the moment, because there are so many items and it's really hard to pinpoint who's going to regulate nationwide online ESL market.
Right. And does this actually, are they specifically speaking about online teaching companies versus, I know a lot of the discussion in these articles is about the off-campus tutoring and things like that. So, you know, there is still gray area in regards to that for sure.
There is. So previous documents and policies, they only talk about in-person classes. 720 is the first policy which mentioned both in-person and online. But as I said, any industry will evolve. What we're going to talk about, our long-term solutions and strategies, maybe it's, of course, we need to react to the policy just to manage the risk. But also, in long term, it's always good to have a strategy when an industry matures, when commodity type of products will have lower margin. We need to think about our niche strategic positions so that our lifestyle isn't impacted in long term.
Yes, yes. Perfect. I've got a question from Naomi. Hey, Naomi, from Online ESL Teachers Pub, a great Facebook group. Do you think the influx of non-Chinese company applicants will drive down the pay for companies like EF, Cambly, Latin Hire, and Connect Kids? So these are companies outside of China. And I think that what a lot of these companies are seeing is an influx of applicants for sure.
Yeah.
To especially companies like Cambly, because they're a great, easy one to grab. Do you think it's going to drive down the pay? I mean, I hope not. I guess sometimes those, that could potentially, it could happen. Or it's going to get these companies to start looking at really the best of the teachers that are coming over to these platforms and maybe actually increasing their standard for what they're looking for in their teachers. And so it's I don't know, wait and see. Do you have any thoughts on that? Did I cover it?
Both short-term strategy and long-term strategy. Short-term, I would say, in order to carry on our lifestyle, people should look for opportunity, even it means temporarily the rate will be pushed down because we have too many supplies. But in long term, it's if we work out a strategy to have to differentiate ourselves, we should be able to get into a position so that the pay rate is able to sustain the lifestyle.
Yeah, wonderful. And a lot of folks have joined this halfway through the live. So I'm talking with Minji Xu, and we are talking about the online tutoring, teaching industry and how we might be impacted from some of these Chinese regulations. Minji brings a lot of experience, background of growing up in China and now living in London and working with online teachers. So just thrilled to have you here, Minji. Thanks again. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Sherry Gibson, who actually got us connected. And I thought you'd be a great guest to have on here to carry on the conversation. Yes. And to just add some more insight into this. So if you are here, again, if you're not a subscriber, please click subscribe. And we're going to jump into some opportunities and what online teachers can do. I see a lot of people in the chat right now talking about other companies. So, that is definitely something that I recommend and always have talked about on my channel. Diversify, look at non-Chinese companies. And there's a lot of great ones out there. So what can online teachers start doing, Minji? And maybe we can lead into a conversation about that.
So I would say stay positive and adapt. I love your title. Your title is so catchy. Am I fired?
Yeah.
Are we fired? So instead of thinking we are fired, we can just change the way of phrasing it, saying, oh, I am going to be hired by myself. I'm hired by myself because I work with tourism for half of my other business. Last year, we went through the exact same process. The whole tourism was put to stop due to pandemic. We couldn't do anything. What I did was, number one, adapt, moving on to another format of hosting tourism experience, and also connect and collaborate with the best people in the industry. So seeing what's happening now with online ESL sector, where the industry is maturing, but at the moment hit by a high impact policy, it was very much the same experience I went through in tourism industry last year by pandemic. So really adapt and really collaborate and connect with the best people in the industry. Maybe just once a week, chat with somebody you didn't know before. You never know what's going to come out of the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I love that, how you can look at maybe a potential issue or a potential problem as a way to pivot and to look at it as an opportunity to actually grow more and to look for other opportunities. Online ESL demand in China is not going away. As we talked about before, the demand is still there. So how are we going to fill that demand as online ESL teachers if there's going to be restrictions on companies and potential potential reductions in how we can teach, what we can teach, when we can teach, and all of those things. Do you have any insights into that?
So what I believe the immediate response would be to really connect with our existing customers, understand, because our existing customer is the best place to start with.
Yes.
And I would say, actually, every interaction we have with the student, with the parent, is an opportunity to learn, to brand, and to sell. I'm not saying every time when we meet your students online, you're going to say, oh, I would like to teach you more. Can we have a direct sales channel? Actually, using every opportunity when we interact with our customers, observe and learn from them what makes the child excited. When we have a class for 25 minutes, when does she get excited? When is she tired? How does she respond to different teaching strategies? What does she like? What makes her exhausted? When it comes to parents, who is actually the one on the purchasing side, build a relationship. Instead of I sell to the parents all the time, try to understand them, ask them open questions. How do you like my class? Can you say a few words positive? Can you write a few reviews for me? Is there anything else I can help with your child? Try to help others. Try to help your customer, because they might come up with a product you have never imagined.
Absolutely. And, a lot of teachers are using WeChat to communicate with parents. I have a question from Eric. How feasible will it be going independent and direct with Chinese parents? If the internet is censored in China, will parents use VPNs and start booking through platforms like OutSchool? Well, also what we're talking about is just that ability to connect with parents, in China and build a relationship and be able to potentially offer classes and things like that. If you're only wanting to work with Chinese parents, the world is very big, and there's a huge market out there of learners that want to learn English, both children and adults. So, I think that parents are still going to be needing teachers, and so they're going to find ways. They're creative. They are still going to, as I said before, the demand is still there, so they're going to find ways to want to connect with you. Are you making yourself available to be an independent teacher, to be a teacher who can offer their own product, their own classes to students, right?
Absolutely. I love what you said. Are you ready for that? Have you prepared your teaching resume, your teaching demo, your credentials, your proposal for product and payment method? So when a parent is approaching you, you can give all these materials and get things set up. So that's one immediate action one can take.
I want to preemptively share that in the video description of this live, there are a few links. There is a link to Minji's website on opportunities that you can work with her. And she offers some really great workshops on using WeChat to connect with parents, and also just how to kind of enter that market, because it is so difficult for us non-Chinese speakers to be able to do that. And there's also an interest form there as well, to express interest to be a part of a networking opportunity with Chinese parents. So this is not something that has been created yet, but is something that we're looking to see if there's an interest. Feel free to fill in that form, and we'd love to get back to you with some opportunities in the future for connecting with parents. Okay, on the topic of WeChat, because it is a hot topic, and I think a lot of teachers are like, hey, I need to start sharing my WeChat with my parents. And maybe parents who also know about this policy are also asking you for your WeChat or wanting to connect with you. How can this be done? I've done some videos on using WeChat. But once you have WeChat, what is WeChat and how can we use it? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that in terms of marketing yourself.
Yeah. So getting back to the last question, how reach your independent teaching to Chinese families? WeChat is quite key. What WeChat essentially is the Chinese equivalent for Facebook, Google, and YouTube. So WeChat does SEO, WeChat provides video searching, content searching. It starts with a messaging app, but it goes everywhere and it's building its empire, especially in search engine function. If you have got your WeChat set up, it would be great to start experimenting with creating your WeChat moments, which basically is your shop window. At least let your connections know who you are, what you are offering. In terms of if you want to curate a portfolio, make yourself discoverable via WeChat. I do run workshops, WeChat for promotion, where I will explain things in a more thorough manner, how you can plan strategically to build partnership with influencers, create content, very much like what we are doing here on YouTube. It requires a strategy. It requires long-term effort. But that gives you unique position.
Yeah, that's really, really great. Just looking at some questions here. I don't know if I'm able to answer this one. Is backdating teacher employment contracts a legal way of circumventing the new regulations? Backdating teacher employment. I know one company was getting teachers to sign for 3 years, magic years. I just heard about it this weekend. Some teachers were offered a 3-year contract, which has never been heard of in this industry. Usually it's 6 months. Do you what do you think about that? Do you think that would be a way of circumventing the new regulations? I don't see a connection, but maybe I'm missing something.
That's very, very interesting looking at this question, because we talked about the 720 policy. It's an administrative policy. It's not a law.
Right.
However, your legal contract abides to company law. So when you have these circumstances which are inconsistent, how would you judge that situation? So interesting. I don't have an answer, but it's very interesting to know.
Something just popped into my head is maybe by signing long-term contracts like that, you're no longer considered hiring new foreign teachers because they're already hired. And actually the whole hiring thing is another issue because we're not actually employees. We are independent contractors. But again, the wording of that, we'll have to wait and see. But I wonder, good question. Thanks for that. If you have another question, do leave it in the comments. I'm missing so many. I love seeing the conversation that people are having and connecting. I saw some people connecting on Instagram about different opportunities. So that is wonderful. That's what this is all about. Alleviating fear, stress, and panic, and providing a place that encourages you to look at this as an opportunity and to start dreaming bigger than maybe just working, just being a Magic Years teacher or just being a VIP Kid teacher. I talk a lot on my channel about how online teachers have amazing entrepreneurial skills because of the experience that you've had as an online teacher. You've learned how to market yourself in many ways. You've learned a lot of technological skills. I mean, teachers don't always think of themselves as business owners, but I encourage you to do that. It is your business. And when you see it as that, you start to see the bigger picture and what's possible with the internet and with your skills. So dream big always. And it just, I wanted to also quickly share the online teaching summit that is happening this weekend for online teachers who are interested in scaling, growing bigger, and learning skills to be a teacherpreneur. You can go to my website /scale to grab a ticket for that. And it's going to be a really great opportunity. So going past that, what are some, so we talked about like working, for other companies, using WeChat and things like that. Do you have any other ideas around what teachers can do now, as they're kind of worrying? Everyone's still working and teaching online. What can we sort of start doing like tomorrow, maybe, to start preparing for this?
Immediate thing to do is actually, number one, carry on with platforms if your classes are booked and
absolutely keep teaching. Give the best classes that you have. Absolutely, we haven't lost our jobs. We're not fired. Things might be changing, but keep teaching for sure.
getting better every time. Learn from your customers, prepare a notebook, writing down customer insights. Every time you interact with them, what did you learn?
Yeah.
But for long-term thing, if I were in the situation, I would do a few things. Number one is self-assessment. I will look at my current work portfolio. I will look at the stage of my life. Do I have family responsibility? And do I have money and time for the next 1 year or two for me to do experiment as an entrepreneur? Do I have enough support network to fall on if things don't turn out the way I would like to? So after that self-assessment, I will be able to make a decision. Do I want to work 100% with other platforms, or do I have the bandwidth to go solo, to gradually moving on independent teaching? If that decision is made, the next thing is to think about different ways how we can do independent teaching. It can be going to different location, going to different segments. If you were teaching Chinese children before, maybe teaching adults, train the parents, train the teachers, train the schools, work with the schools can be a solution. Also, expand on how we serve the model. If we work with online purely online before, what are the possibilities to have maybe recorded materials, recorded sessions, in-person classes, or a mix of two, in-person versus online? Online, you have live interactions or recorded materials. I also want to encourage all of us to think broadly, the skill set, as you said. An online ESL teacher, you have so much assets and expertise. You have marketing skills, you know how to use technology. Also, I would like to emphasize the skills every ESL teacher has in terms of virtual communication, how you communicate with somebody from a different language background and different culture background. Thinking broadly, the prestige experience you have gained. Don't undersell yourself. Look for opportunities that can maximize your expertise and resources. And last but not least, collaborate. Talk one person every week. Top expert in
Connect with teachers. Connect with teachers here in the chat. I love Instagram for connecting with teachers and you know, just learning from each other. And Facebook, of course, is forever been a great place for connecting through groups and things like that. You can learn so much. There are wonderful Facebook groups for online teachers to grow and share. And I'm just thinking about teacher Lexi, who has a great group on diversified companies. If you're looking for other opportunities, if you want to specialize in reading, I've done a video in the past on finding your niche as a teacher as well. So important to find out where you excel and where you can provide a lot of value and to meet the needs of your students that are in China that are, by and large, taking classes with very cookie cutter approach curriculum. That are, a lot of people think, well, I'm just an online teacher. I just teach English, right? That isn't going to really cut it when you're trying to go solo and independent, because just saying that you teach English and trying to teach everyone really means that you're not actually specifically targeting yourself to the highest potential that you could be when you're trying to reach students and connect with other learners. So we have talked about so much. I just want to see if there's there's so many people watching still, and so grateful for all of you for being here and supporting, for hitting like and subscribing and sharing this video and engaging in conversations. I just want to see if there's anything before we wrap things up. If you do have any last minute questions, please make sure to write question and we'll try to answer it to the best of our ability. There's too many.
While you're checking the questions, I just want to point out how important ESL teachers' jobs are, because we are interacting with a very young child during his or her formation period to understand a global language, to understand another culture. That impact you can change somebody's life from 5 minutes of teaching. I just want every ESL student not to forget that big
Yeah,
picture, how
absolutely.
important your job is, your work is, how
Thank you
valuable.
for that, Minji. It can be so easy when you're on the rabbit or the, what's it called? The hamster wheel. Couldn't think of the word. The hamster wheel of just teaching classes and classes and classes. You forget actually the impact that you're having. Take a moment and step back and realize that you are making a huge impact, and you can continue to do so. It's not going anywhere. I actually believe it's going to get bigger, and there's going to be a real demand. And, ask yourself the question, are you ready to fill that demand? And what are you going to start doing to prepare yourself for that?
Absolutely.
Nancy asks, is anyone worried about companies shutting down suddenly and not paying their teachers for work already finished, especially those on monthly pay base? Of course, there's definitely small companies that might be doing some strange things, but a lot of the big ones, I'm not worried about that. I know I had a teacher ask me last week if they should switch to weekly pay. I mean, it's a personal decision. I've always been paid by all the companies I've taught classes with over the last 4 years. I've never had a cent taken from, I've had money taken from me for different things, but never had a cent withheld. So I don't generally worry, but I'm kind of a glass half full kind of person. I don't really worry too much about those things. But I guess that's a personal decision. Catherine says, thank you for all the information. Appreciate your hard work. Have a great day, Tim. Thank you so much. And there is another question here. Lydia says, question, will there be less demands for exam prep like the Cambridge exams now? I mean, personally, I don't think so, because if the demand is there, it's always going to be there, right? China is not trying to shut down the industry. They're trying to regulate it for the things that we talked about in the beginning. It's so important, I think, to know that. That it's policy, not law, and that it's provincially governed, and so it's going to take time to play out, and that's why we're talking about how to prepare yourself here. So
to add on that, I believe it's important for us to really think about who's our real customers. Our real customers, are they exams or are they students? Because when we understand who's our real customers, we look around their needs. When their needs change, we change our proposition. So maybe there's a fluctuation in demand in terms of text preparation or language learning. But if we understand our customers are the students, we should be able to find and adapt to their changing needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When going independent, Andrea asks, what is a good price for Chinese parents? That's a big question, right? I mean, you know what you get paid. Some of us know kind of roughly ballpark what parents are charging. Roughly, I've taught private students from China. I taught in China for 3 years. I carried students from my time in Beijing to online. Actually, I have a student that I taught in first grade in China. He's now 16 years old, and I'm still teaching him online. And I have never been paid less than $50 for that student for 8 years. So it's kind of, it's up to you. And I think we could talk a lot about pay, I'm sure, but I would look at what your skills are and what you're offering, and don't be afraid to charge high. Don't play the game of chasing the price to the bottom to outbid other teachers who are like, we see this all the time on platforms like Preply and italki, and I'm going to charge $9 a class because so-and-so is charging 15 and I'm going to outbeat them and I'm going to get more students. No, the person charging $15 an hour is seen as probably more qualified and offering more value. So don't be afraid to charge more. And parents are willing to pay it. Yeah, I wanted to thank you so much, Naomi. I've never had a super chat on any of these lives, and I am not asking for one. I don't even know if they're available, but I do so appreciate you trying, and no worries at all. Just being here and engaging, and hit the like button. That's a super chat for me. I really appreciate that. So I need to go back and have a look at Susan S. Where do you live? I live in Bangkok, Thailand. That's why it is dark outside. If you're new to the channel, that's why I live in Thailand. anyone have success offering ESL classes on OutSchool? Yes, there are people. There are certainly are teachers, and OutSchool is a great option for non-Chinese based companies. Again, if you can offer a specific class within a niche based on your skills and passions and expertise, meeting the demand of the students, then you can do really well. Been thinking but don't know how to create a curriculum for it. I mean, you can absolutely offer, because it's worldwide and it is taking off in other countries. Thanks, Tim and Minji. This has been so informative and positive. Yes, awesome. So glad about that. Yeah, all right. Very, very good. Well, we've been going for a long time, and I normally keep these to half an hour, but it's been so much fun. I have never had so many people on a live before and in the chat. So really, really excited. We peaked at around 275. So this is a really great topic, and so many teachers are interested in what's to come. So improveyourbookings.com is Minji's website, and she has some workshops that she's offering. I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that, and they are great priced workshops with high value if you're interested in that. We also have a form in the description of this video if you are interested in a potential networking opportunity with Chinese parents down the road. So please express interest in that if you would like to. And anything else, Minji? Did we cover everything? How do we do?
This is fantastic. I enjoyed so much talking to you and hearing comments and questions from teachers watching this video. It's been really fantastic to meet everyone virtually.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Kind of give a summary to the situation.
Sure.
Every crisis is an opportunity in disguise. Maybe
Absolutely.
with this opportunity, we discover our new potentials, that we are able to do things we never imagined we are able to do. I'm a firm believer in acting not out of desperation, but out of inspiration. So this being inspirational for me and hopefully for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Look at this as an opportunity, and don't panic, but understand that there might be changes coming for sure. And let's start getting ready. Let's start preparing. Think outside the box. And I have so much faith in online teachers as entrepreneurs to start building things that are bigger than just being an online ESL teacher with a company. So with that, I'm so glad to have you, Minji. Thank you for being here. You're just a wonderful person and a great voice for this community as we struggle with some of these things. So really appreciate you. And I know that it's the middle of the afternoon in London, so I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and look forward to chatting with you again soon. So give Minji lots of love in the chat, and we'll say goodbye. Thank you, Minji.
Namaste. Bye.
Namaste. And I think ho'aponopono is another phrase that I can't even remember the meaning, but something I learned in Nepal.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye, Minji. Thank you again, Minji. It was wonderful and lovely to have you. And thank you to all of you for being here and engaging in the chat. I will hang out for another couple of minutes and answer any last minute questions that I see that might have come up, or comments. This was a chat that I could not keep up with. Normally I can keep up with it, but today it was really rocking. So super, super cool. Teacher Tim is in Thailand. So am I. Oh, interesting. Another teacher, Tim, in Thailand. I have not heard of you. I have a WeChat account. I would love to learn more about how to use it. Yeah, I do have a video on using WeChat with your parents on my channel, so you can go back and have a look at that. Sometimes it's the struggle of connecting and getting it all set up and things like that. I used to live in Malaysia, Naomi. I had to move after 8 years and jumped and flew over to Thailand in May. So here we are, and this is where I am in Bangkok in lockdown, and it's not a great situation here. You're in David Sala. I'm trying to think if I know who you are. I think I recognize your name. Oh, cool. You're in Chiang Mai. Very, very cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Candy. Thanks, Patricia. Thanks, Dawn, for being here. Yeah. Nanette, the interest form is in the description of the video if you'd like to jump in an opportunity for that. Minji reminds me of many amazing teachers I've worked with in Waldorf and Montessori. Yeah, absolutely awesome. She was really, really great. Thank you, Raul, for being here. Hey, Raul's in Thailand as well. Lots of people in Thailand here. How do you get paid? Okay, I'll address this one. So there's lots of different ways to get paid from overseas parents. If you're talking about specific in China, that can be a little bit difficult. I've connected with different teachers who have made businesses out of this, where they collect the payments for you in China through Alipay or WeChat. They take a very small 1 or 2% payment for the processing and things, and then they will send it to your bank. So, you know, if you'd like to reach out to me about that, I can put you in contact with somebody. All my information is in the video description. But outside of that, I mean, you can use PayPal, you can use Stripe. You know, it doesn't have to be very complicated. PayPal's an easy one, and I use TransferWise as well to collect payments. So those things are easy to collect worldwide payments. Fiverr and Preply. Preply is an online platform. Fiverr is a place you can market all kinds of services. Teacher Emanuela, who is coming to Scale to Success? Yes, one last little pitch for that. It is happening literally this weekend, and please grab a ticket if you're at all interested. It is $97, but there's about 7 or 8, I don't know, I forget now, 7 different speakers. I'm one of them, talking about websites, and there is so much value there. If you're wanting to become a teacherpreneur and grow and scale, you know, would love to have you at Scale to Success. You can go to onlineteacherdude.com/scale to grab that ticket. Hope to see many of you there. Thanks, Esther. Carl just said, I got the Tesla certification you recommended, but I don't have prior teaching experience. What are some good companies I can look at? I have a web page on my website, onlineteacherdude.com. You can go to teach. Those are the companies that I recommend. A lot of them are Chinese-based, but there are a few that are not. And I've done several videos about companies if you want to go back into my channel. Long question to answer, but there are lots and lots of companies out there. So, okay, very good. Well, we could hang out here all night. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you for being in the chat and saying hello and all those great things. And have a wonderful day. Let's not panic. Let's see this as opportunity for growth. And keep on keeping on doing what you do best. And I will see you next week, same time, same place.